So it took me 600 applications and 6 months to get my first job as a software engineer. So we always see posts on LinkedIn about how people have like 7 offers and a starting salary of like 200K with 0 years of experience. But I think it's important to put into perspective the journey for software engineers who aren't in the top 1 to 5% of engineers. Also, not me bashing on these people, more props to them. But when I was a new grad out of school, it was definitely discouraging thinking that was the baseline of what I had to shoot for. So was I the average? Was I horribly below average? And honestly, if we're looking at a bell curve, where the top 5% are the ones like them getting 7 offers and 200K starting salaries, then I would say submitting 600 applications and getting only 1 offer is probably somewhere towards the middle. And you shouldn't let that grind discourage you. However, I did learn a bunch of things along the way that could have sped up the process significantly. So I already went through how I was a bad student before, so we don't really need to go into that again. But when I first started applying for software engineering jobs in September of 2016, I thought it was gonna be easy. In my head, there was such a shortage of software engineers that I felt like I was just bound to get a job. But what I didn't understand is that in general, if a company interviews 100 people, they're not just gonna take the 5 least bad performers. If all 100 people perform badly, they're not gonna take anyone. So basically, I was about to be seriously humbled in the next few months. So my first month of submitting applications, I would submit like 3 a day or something like that, maybe through LinkedIn or Indeed, and call it a job well done. And after a week, I had maybe like 20 or so submitted. And I thought, wait, why isn't anyone contacting me back? But I didn't really think that much of it because the next week, I got a call from this random company near Los Angeles asking me to drive down for an interview for them. But my stupid ass totally bombed the interview because I thought getting the job was a given, and because I was an idiot. And then suddenly my prospects for searching for jobs became very, very dry. So from October of 2016 until December of 2016, I was applying to jobs literally every single day. And my responses were usually one of 4 things: no reply, auto rejections that we all love, an email with a take-home assignment asking me to build some sort of small web application or something, which I would do, submit, and then never get a response. An online coding assessment, which I would fail immediately because I knew nothing about LeetCode at the time. But most of the time, actually the majority of the time, I just got radio silence, ghosted, no response. And I applied and applied and applied. I upped my applications to maybe like 10 or 20 a day, and I got nothing for that whole time. And then after New Year's, starting in about January of 2017, I finally got a couple emails and some phone screens that I passed that led to 2 on-site interviews that were both in San Francisco. So mind you, these were not the cool companies in San Francisco. One of the startups I interviewed for was literally in this building that I thought was abandoned. And when I got to the office, half the office was blocked off by one of those paper divider things because the other half of the office was being used by another business for their call center. But of course, I failed both interviews. And I was left thinking like, damn, am I just completely screwed? And I started just getting desperate, and I applied to anything I could find. If it was software, QA, DevOps, literally anything that had software in the job description, I would apply to. And I was starting to think that maybe I would just never get a job. And then one day at the end of January, I got a call from a company near San Diego asking me to do a technical phone screen. And when they called me, they literally just asked me to create a linked list, which, thank God, is like literally chapter 2 on cracking the coding interview. One of the few things I knew how to do. And then when I was called in for the on-site interview, they just told me to traverse a tree, one of the most basic algorithms they teach in data structure classes. And in the end, they were satisfied enough to give me an offer. So I felt like I had swindled this company into giving me a job. But now you can probably see that this process is just extremely random. I feel like I could have applied for double and got no job still. And sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time. But I can give the general number: 600 job applications, all submitted online, which led to 4 on-site interviews, which led to 1 job. 4 on-site interviews out of 600 applications is a 0.6% success rate. So definitely not the best use of your time. I mean, I got other calls and assessments and stuff, but in total, that was probably maybe like 20. So still a horrible response rate. But Here's all my learnings so that maybe you won't have to go through the same process. The best and most important thing you can do is to make friends and get referrals in order to get your foot in the door in these companies. So obviously don't be a snake and just talk to people just so you can get a job in the future or anything, but just make friends in your major and just in general. Let me give you a quick example. I applied to a large gaming company based in LA, and it was a very specific position within the company. But then I realized I actually knew someone who worked at the company, so I asked them to refer me for the exact same position. And then 2 days later, I got a rejection email for that exact position. And I thought, okay, well, I guess it's over or whatever. But 2 weeks later, after I had already accepted an offer at another company, I got an email from a recruiter asking to set up a phone call about that exact position. So you can see here, it's very obvious that the referrals and the regular online applications go through completely separate pools, and they're not in equal playing fields at all. So get a referral. The second is go to your career fair. This is probably one of the best places for college students to get jobs because you literally get 100% response rate because the representative is standing right there. The third is to attend hackathons. So a lot of universities these days have these hackathons, which are basically just like free events where you and your friends just create something randomly, and there's like prizes, free stuff, free food. No one cares if your app sucks and barely works, but it will be something that you can put on your resume and something for you to talk about with your interviewer. And if you're not in college. So the first tip is that remember to apply strategically. Fiscal years for companies usually end in either July or December. So a couple months before or after that is usually when companies ramp up their hiring because of like opened capacity for these positions that they're hiring for. The second is to make sure your resume is in a good format. I used to look at other people with these like beautifully graphic designed resumes and everything. Those don't matter. Make your resume as basic as possible and make it all in one column. And this is because mostly it's computers scanning over your resume and assigning points to figure out which resumes are actually worth a human reviewing. And the next one is cold emailing. So you can sort of guess what a recruiter's company email is based off their LinkedIn profile. For example, if I worked at company, then my email would probably be Kevin_Chen@company.com, kchen@company.com. There's only a few options. And from this, you can probably just send cold emails to recruiters. But the better option is to go to LinkedIn and look for recruiters at companies you want to work for. Some recruiters will have their personal email in the info box in their LinkedIn profile. And that's your perfect opportunity to email them directly. The other thing is you could get a trial of LinkedIn Premium and send them a LinkedIn email. And the last one is easy apply. But there is a GitHub list full of companies. They just require your name, maybe your email, and your resume. Getting your first job as a software engineer is the most grueling part, and it might take you a long time and a significant amount of work. But remember, after you get your first job, this process becomes 1,000 times easier. You'll never experience the same amount of pain as your first job search. So hang in there, there'll be better times ahead.